Hello, welcome everyone to our Tuesday LinkedIn Live. Happy ADHD Awareness Month. And today I've got Dr. Vic Patel, and we're going to talk about how to regulate emotions with ADHD. Hello, Vic. How are you?
Hey, I'm really good, really good. Super. Glad to be part of this ADHD Awareness Month.
Yeah, it's a big one. We've got some pretty big ambitions, obviously starting off with doing this every day for the week, but for the month, but we did this last year, so we know it can be done. Yeah.
Great.
So just a bit of background about Vic. So Advocate, we got Vic in because we really acknowledge that there is huge support needed on the kind of DBT, Dialectical Behavioural Therapy side for ADHDers. It's very different to ADHD coaching. And I thought today we could ask Vic a few questions about DBT, just so that everyone can understand how DBT helps ADHDers.
Yeah,
Over to you, Vic.
fantastic. Yeah, so DBT obviously originally developed by Marshall Linehan. It's based on a skills deficit model. Now, I'll probably explain just briefly what DBT is, how it's developed and structured, and how it actually kind of helps with the ADHDers. And it actually shows a lot of research out there recently, more so now than ever, on helping people to give a good skill set. Yeah. So DBT, as everybody probably would know, is a skill set model. I've got the manual here. It's fantastic. Yeah. So we kind of go through everything to do with ADHD and DBT. And DBT is split into 4 modules. So it's not just a evidence-based treatment for neurodiversity, neurotypical brains, but it's also a lifestyle. Yeah, which is why I think DBT is out there, or at least the delivery of it. And it works on the neuroscience of things, the mind and the body. Yeah. And it kind of helps with people when we're quite cognitive. It helps to create that skill set called distress tolerance, to really quieten down the mind, naming the emotions so that you're able to learn to create more effective ways of responding, not reacting. Yeah. It also creates then the scoop kind of part. It's called emotion regulation. So often what happens, as we know, when our brain is completely filled with a lot of things going on, it just helps to quieten down in the key module called emotion regulation. Now, this in particular is my favorite module, because I think this is what sets out DBT to other treatment models out there to help ADHD, yeah, or neurodiverse, in that it's the emotion regulation component that sets us aside. So it does help with cognitive, but it also helps with the neuroscience of things around behavior change, yeah, which is important. So yeah, so DBT is split into 4 modules. It's everything we do here in ADHD Advocate in regards to creating and offering people with a good skill set. Because often what happens is that we all know what we want, but we just need to get the skill on how to do it. And this is why I love DBT, because this teaches us what we need to do and how we need to do it. Yeah. So that's why I love the DBT.
Yeah, and it's so important for ADHDs, isn't it? Because with coaching, we can sometimes have clients that do CBT, and CBT is great, obviously, for kind of working out what you're thinking and then trying to, I guess, think of new ways of like being able to talk to yourself, etc. But the problem isn't it, with ADHD is that often in the moment, they're so emotionally dysregulated, they cannot access the cognitive, like they just can't think, they're, as you said, lots of thoughts in their head, lots of emotion, they can't name the emotion either. And that's when we have these massive meltdowns, sometimes physical, unfortunately, as well, that aggression. How does DBT, so that emotional regulation component or distress tolerance you talked about, Vic, how does that fit?
So basically, it's about quieting the mind. Now, as you know, research out there shows not just mindfulness-based techniques to help with reducing DBT, like the heightened levels of emotion, distress. It's distress tolerance kind of creates that neuroscience side of stuff. Yes, like you said, when our ADHD brains are completely overwhelmed, the high executive functioning is compromised. Yeah. So we're not able to maybe co-regulate, plan, execute what we want to do. It just becomes not an effective way of coping.
That's on a normal day, Vic. we're
That's
usually
just
unable. That's a normal day for an ADHD, right? But
yeah,
it's that kind of coming down from that, being completely out of control,
yeah,
not being able to respond, just like full
correct.
blown
Yeah,
reacting. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So distress tolerance is almost like what Marshall and Han terms the metaphor, the burning house. Now, if you're in a burning home, you're probably not going to think effectively. So what Marshall talks about here is that how we quieten down the mind using mindfulness techniques to know our early warning signs. Yeah, how we can learn to kind of feel more responsive and create an autonomy and an agency of our mind. Yeah, making friends with it. So again, knowing that that's why the emotion red component's really good to better understand, name and describe your emotion, which research has shown to reduce brain reactivity. Now, the distress tolerance component are not just coping skills. They are practical ways to quieten down the mind using the neuroscience of the threat system. So they could be simple skills like, as we know out there, putting your face in cold water technique. We call it the tip skill. Yeah. Which hopefully helps to shock the system so that you're able then to do the other modules called emotion reg. Yeah.
Right.
Because what we use, the philosophy.
Yeah, back in the body. Is that kind of like, that's what we do in coaching, kind of, we talk about getting out of the head into the body. And so that is very interesting.
And that's why we use that dialect called, if you can't tolerate, you're not going to regulate.
So true.
Yeah.
This is the problem. ADHD is there's so much, particularly if they've got autism as well.
Yes.
The tolerations are huge, all the sensory sensitivities, they're constantly tolerating discomfort. And so this is key. This is then obviously massively important for ADHD.
Yeah, and the key component for heightened rejection dysphoria, mainly in relationships, we got that module called interpersonal skills. So it helps us to relate and connect so we can reduce our loneliness, at times. But in order to get that, that's why we use distress tolerance skills, just practical ways to quiet down the brain. Remember, the key thing here for any ADHDers, we need to educate around you're here to be good at feeling, not feel better. Yeah?
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hang on, say that again. Sorry, Vic, repeat just for all of us to.
We're here to be good at feeling, not feel better, because when you start feeling, we will feel good.
I don't know, Vic. I mean, a lot of us ADHDers, because of, intergenerational impact of ADHD, we're very good at disassociating. So actually, when you talk about we're here to feel, that's an uncomfortable, that for many ADHDers, that would be very uncomfortable, because then you're challenging one of their main coping strategies, Vic,
I get it. And again, compassionately requiring people to lean in to psychoeducation around emotion regulation, upgrading that nervous system, by smuggling in little emotion reg skills when we start chipping away at some tolerance, learning to acknowledge, like befriending the emotions, educating ourselves of why we have 10. There are 10 emotions in the DBT model, all of which are necessary. And that's why DBT helps with ADHD, the DBT way.
Yeah, no, definitely. The name it to tame it. Often, again, we are so in our heads and there's so many thoughts that are overwhelming us. We don't know what we're feeling, don't know if we're tired even, and that's why we keep going. And narrative that we're fine. Like I see it in coaching all the time, coaching clients, that kind of, it's fine, I'm fine, everything's fine. And it's like, oh no, because you know what's going to happen. So DBT, it just, I can just see in so many ways, it's just so key for ADHDers to learn.
Yeah, exactly. And the key philosophy here is that awareness. So when we start getting an awareness, i.e. the mindfulness techniques, where again, remember, this is all evidence-based, research-driven, to help to quieten down the brain so that one's able to create a valued direction. So it's about creating a level of response based on some questions. Is what I'm going to say, do, or think get me closer to my goal, whatever that goal might be in coaching, or for the individual? Yeah, whatever the goal is one going to say, do or think, create more or less suffering? So again, educating our mind on what I know now is what I didn't know back then.
No, it's so important. It's just, in my head, I'm just seeing the journey to get there, because obviously, like we said, all the triggers, all those, tolerate, so many ADHD is just kind of just struggling not to have an outburst, struggling not to, swear at someone, or, they're trying to doing everything they can to tolerate. And so that this next step that you're talking about, being able to ask in that kind of moment, trying to deconstruct it all. So sorry again. So just for well, my benefit as well. So in terms of breaking that down, how would you do that in DBT?
So I'll probably first right now look at what are certain people's mechanisms of kind of coping. Yeah, part of our own tendencies to keep self together. Yeah,
I'm fine. Like I'm fine. Everything's fine. Like everything's fine. So say let's use that as an example, maybe, because ADHD is so common, right? Everything's fine. I'm fine. Not going to think about actually what I've just got to do, what I've got to do. Yeah. So you're doing one of those.
So great. So I will be, but that's fantastic. So we're not here to change that part. We're going to kind of respond to it because that's been really good so far. However, we realize it's getting in the way. To be effective in maybe yourself, maybe relationships, attainment of goals.
Being a healthy relationship, again, tolerating maybe healthy relationships, but that narrative.
Correct. So what we'll do is that we'll do what we call is a little care plan. Understand what are certain other behaviors that are also private that could be going on for you in terms of cognitive, emotion, and urges. We'll also do a care plan in regards to interpersonal, what kind of gets in the way of connection. Yeah, because remember in that last module, it's about social signaling, because even though we're so trying to keep ourselves together, masking and keeping things together, actually people respond to your blind spots more.
It's interesting. ADHD is that you don't realize kind of the messages that you're sending out, just and we teach people how to treat us. This is what comes up in coaching a lot for us as well. Helping the ADHD just get a lot more aware of what they're signaling. And then we skill up by starting off with awareness first, and then creating a level of some form of distress tolerance, a psychological flexibility, neuroplasticity. So just creating neural ways, neural pathways. By doing so, we can smuggle in a bit of emotion reg. Smuggle in. It's interesting. How come that choice of word there in terms of smuggle in? How come it's smuggling in? Is it because it's not something that ADHDers would maybe want to do or they're used to doing? It's all that sometimes that. I hear you. It's all that black and white thinking, people call it, a very rigid mind, fixed mind. It's all these defense mechanisms that we have all created and developed based on our own developmental kind of life and our stories and our trauma experiences, or just because of the genetics of our brain, and our perceptual biases. So we're not disregarding that. It's just that we smuggle it in as long as we know there's an intention and a vision. Yes, your I know why, which again in coaching, and it is about the identity, isn't it? It's like, when an ADHD comes up with a goal, it's very much attached to who they want to be. Identity again. That's what's compelling that keeps, And
this is why DBT, the ADHD way, will help in terms of helping people to just learn to quiet down the mind by learning having sustainable peace. But the catch here in any DBT or for ADHD is the goal is not joy. Because the goal is to let's regulate the other 9 emotions too, because they equally have a part in life.
Rather than denial and not feeling everything's fine in the whole. And you can't. You can't manage. What do we say? We say in coaching, you can't manage what you don't measure.
Correct.
And that's obviously. So could we maybe leave this session? Could you name these 10 emotions? And the ADHDers can check in, with themselves. Are they feeling it?
So there's fear, So we need fear for many reasons. Yeah. For life is danger, well-being is danger, you only care about life-threatening health condition. So there is an evolutionary principle. Please remember that word, everybody. Evolution. Yeah. It's important. Yeah. Because we are here to be good at the feeling, which is why we're trying to create a sustainable and optimized well-being. Yeah. To help. Then we need anger. Anger is a functional emotion. Yeah, for boundaries, assertiveness, creating a level of personal space, having our needs met for sure, rather than being a walkover or a doormat. Yeah, or a bulldozer.
That might be overused by ADHDers. Again, we do that. We work on that in coaching in terms of setting boundaries earlier before you know, because a lot of ADHDers rely on the anger to set the boundary.
Yes.
Too late.
Yeah. This is it. So we want to use appropriate kind of anger to express that. So anger is fantastic. Yeah. We need disgust. Yeah. Disgust is around contamination. Yeah. Right. You know, contamination, bodily fluids. We might have a level of a kind of strong sense response here. Yeah. Also, we may feel disgust at certain worldviews that might compromise our own values or our own kind of understanding of the world, you know? So therefore, and the difference between disgust and anger is that because the disgust doesn't really get in the way of my own personal goal, my own personal attainment. So they could also be quite cousins.
Oh, right. Interesting.
Yeah.
I've never looked at it this way. Interesting.
Yeah. It's really good. Yeah. Then we got sadness. Sadness is a function of grief. Yeah. Sometimes we are made to feel different, having ADHD brain or the ADHD, made to feel not belong, made to feel ostracized, excluded back in the days of like, what is happening with you? Why are you being this? The stigma, the myths about, you know, ADHD brain.
Yeah. That's a big
so therefore,
RSA.
yeah, right. So again, this is where the development of that will come from. So sadness will be there because any human will feel grief. Yeah, my life is not the way I want or hope or expect it to be. A level of sadness. Sadness is not depression. Yeah.
Interesting.
Sadness is just grief. Yeah. Yeah.
This is the problem with the whole now versus not now and the extreme. I love putting the ADHD lens on all of this. That's why I'm so excited to be doing this course, creating this course with you, Vic. DBT with the ADHD lens, because it's like the missing piece, honestly, with the coaching. You talk about this, but I'll keep going. What are the last emotions?
Yeah, sadness. We got then love. Love is nice. Love is really good for connection.
Number one, love.
Sorry?
Number one, would you say love, right? Kind of the most important.
That's good. Love is there with happiness, which is the other emotion.
Okay.
Yeah? So love is good, but what we don't want is excessive codependency in our relationships. A sense of self-sacrificing. So again, that's where the last module hack that and create that nice lens to help create a level of owning your relationships.
So important with ADHD because the RSD, right? We are so prone to codependency.
Yes. So this will hopefully target that a little bit more. Yeah. Whereas joy is great. Joy is not like a everyday experience, but we got to accumulate joy in our little days. Yeah.
Yes. Got to prioritize it. Exactly. Again, ADHD is not, well, so it depends, but not so good at it because the guilt, shame, the overwhelm, I need to get all this stuff done. Before I allow myself joy, I must get all this stuff done, you know?
Correct. Yeah. And what we want is moving away from always the reward system. We want to move towards sustainable joy. Yeah. Without a judgment of good, about, or right or wrong about it.
Yes.
We got then jealousy. Jealousy is a really important emotion to have.
That's a big one for ADHD, as I would say, because the RSD, right? Not being good enough. So a lot of ADHD is massive jealousy, envious of everyone, you know? Yeah.
So again, each skill, which is really lovely, has its own skill set. So jealousy is fantastic. Be desirable, be likable.
I love that. I love how so anger's great, jealousy is fantastic. This is very interesting to hear. What's it sounds like, and we talk about at the ADHD Advocate about understanding and embracing. That's why we're so aligned, Vic, the coaching and DBT, because we talk about embracing, because it sounds like that's what you're encouraging everyone with ADHD is to do, is to embrace these.
Embrace them, with an awareness, with an openness and a flexible mind. Learning to realize there is a signal going on here. We need to listen to the signal. Now, DBT ADHD way helps to recognize and name an emotion, but only because you feel it doesn't mean it's justified. Yeah.
That's so important. That's so important too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's another purpose. Right.
And that's why distress tolerance, we go back always to distress tolerance, because we want to keep measuring that temperature, that gauge, bring that arousal down, or feeling dissociated, bring it up so you can feel hypo or hyper. So you want to bring that window together and help modulation. Yeah. Flow.
It really is a skill. It is. It's like kind of, and it's important. It's something that unfortunately ADHDs kind of feel like they can sometimes feel like they can do everything, and then they go to try it and they realize, no, I can't do it. That's kind of what we're dealing with a lot of the time. They don't know what they don't know.
Yeah,
but hopefully, definitely by talking to you today, I'm really hoping that it's becoming even clearer, kind of what gaps are and how important it is. And what a revelation, a transformation it can be to have these skills.
100%. 100%. Yeah, 100%. So we have jealous, which is the kind of an, I guess, an attachment, obtainment of a goal, like a fear of loss of someone, which the rejection comes from. Yeah.
Fear of missing out.
Yeah. The cousin would be envy. Yeah. So envy is more personal. Envy is about, I want what you have because I don't have it.
Oh yeah, envy is a big one for ADHDs.
Yeah, so envy is fantastic to have, to go and grab your goals, but also to count your blessings, because you may not have that now, but it doesn't mean you don't have nothing.
Okay. It's very interesting. You do a lot of, there's a lot of reframing in DBT, because, you know, we do that in coaching as well. That's,
Exactly. And that's called the dialectic, holding both. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, so that's that's the paradox of ADHD. That's how it aligns. It's the same. ADHD is a paradox. The strengths can be your weaknesses. Love it. This has been absolutely fascinating. This has been this is very exciting, actually, putting the coaching and the DBT together.
Yeah. And the last two called twins. I call it the twins. You've got guilt, which is personal.
Oh gosh. Oh.
Yeah.
Shame, guilt, the next one.
And the shame is the sister.
Oh, you leave the best for last here, Vic. Guilt
and shame is social. Yeah. But again, shame is amazing because it really, again, this is why DBT, the ADHD way, is to quieten down the brain so we as a human can access that executive functioning to help us regulate or co-regulate with the person. Yeah. So that if you're able to name the emotion of, let's say, feelings of shame, name it, regulate it, you're more likely to reduce some of those impulsive behaviors or thought processes, rumination, overthinking.
Right. You're giving, I love, so this is what was the missing piece. Like I said, a lot of ADHD is dismissing feelings because they get in the way. But actually what you've done today, you've shown ADHD is the why behind each emotion. And that is key, because that's when ADHD is know their why, know the why. That's when the interest is ignited, and that's when they can do the thing that they're struggling to do. You've made it relevant, which is beautiful. Thank you, Vic. This is great. I think this has been so massively beneficial for ADHDers, and we're going to try and get Vic on again during the summit at the end of the month. And Vic's available for he's available for DBT. Did you want to just quickly talk about your offering? Vic, you do the group and also kind of one-to-one.
Yeah, so here we do in the services, we do one-to-one. So that's where we kind of do like a care plan, and we talk about your current needs and desires and wants and what might get in the way. So there we're going to start tracking certain behaviors using a diary card. We also here in ADHD Advocate offer a real good skill set, a course to kind of really manage certain emotions, whether that might be emotional regulation, a piece on distress tolerance, where that might be a piece of being good at relating, so, or just increase connections, through the interpersonal. So that's kind of what we do.
Given the body double strategy is our key strategy, this is one skill that we really want to invest in, guys. So it's do reach out. So Vic's on the website as well, but stay tuned. We're going to have an online course available coming soon, at some point soonish, with DBT, the ADHD way. So thank you, Vic. And everyone have a great day, and we'll see Vic later on this month, I think. Thanks, Vic.
Yeah, no, nice. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, bye.